abortion, I wonder how much when we hear the word abortion rights, do we think about Black women? And in what context are we thinking about said Black women? Hey guys, it's Julesy, the head smart brown girl in charge. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, because whether you like it, love it, or don't agree at all, this is about encouraging a critical dialogue. So join in and comment along. Engage respectfully. I don't really see abortion rights discussed in the Black community. And when I do see it discussed, it's usually from the angle of white women with this allusion to the vaguely identified Black and brown women who are kept from having access to abortions. I don't know that we address enough how much the Black community actually holds pretty conservative ideals. Hence why I think this whole Black people on the Democrat plantation is one of the silliest hot takes ever. Nah, we just not voting against our own self-interest for the most part, but plenty of us check out when the liberal conversation of abortion arises. It just so happens though, states with the largest swaths of Black people aren't really known for being a haven for abortion rights, as is the case for most of the South. Here's my biggest issue with the abortion rights conversation, which brings me to one of my biggest issues with the abortion rights conversation. I quite frankly don't care what your personal ideologies on abortion rights are. If you think it's a sin, by all means, okay, sis? But the way we frame this conversation overlooks how abortion rights is inclusive of the much bigger reproductive rights. Even the titling of reproductive rights skims over the myriad of health issues and concerns that are precarious to the female body and have more to do with just my ability to have a child or not. And because of that, eradicating abortion rights will have a long-lasting negative impact, particularly on the Black community, because reproductive rights means your access to gynecological care, how you are billed, and what your health insurance will cover with regards to the totality of your lady parts. And sis, every part of your body is important because it is all connected together. This impacts what research can be done on the reproductive and female-specific organs and diseases. You want to talk about fibroids and how they go understudied and underdiagnosed within the Black community. It impacts how you're able to deliver a child, and again, the healthcare coverage for said delivery of child, general access to scientifically founded information, and more simply, overall, your access to birth control. Now, it's not even just conservative ideals that I think allow us to sweep this under a rug or turn a blind eye to it, because I know for many folks that are gainfully employed with employer-provided healthcare, it's easier for us or them to skim over abortion conversation and hold staunchly pro-life beliefs to say anything to do with abortion rights is wrong, or at least it's a fight that I'm going to turn a blind eye to. Because going to your OBGYN isn't a hassle. It's not a far drive, a long wait to get an appointment, or even once you arrive for your appointment, it's not going to take a whole day or half a day at that. For you, your prescriptions aren't that expensive. You don't have to deal with invasive questions being asked or biased assumptions you have to encounter when simply looking for birth control. You might not even realize the vastness of how policy impacts those without decent insurance, their access to even just birth control. And as we move into a society where more people are contract workers, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, on top of the fact that in the South, Obamacare, or what is actually should be titled ACA, the Affordable Care Act, marketplace healthcare plans, they have been stripped bare by GOP-controlled states and therefore are financially out of reach, or just not even like ideal for most of the community that it's supposed to touch. Like, what am I gonna do with a $5,000 deductible that from a plan that cost me $500 a month? So the undoing of abortion policies in America really hurts many of us in how we access basic reproductive care. And I'm talking about this from a very first-hand perspective because I live in the South. I just moved from Texas to North Carolina, and it's been very frustrating since leaving the Northeast, where I could roll up to a clinic same day and get $20 if not free birth control, to having to have a vaginal exam, being questioned by a doctor's front office on why I don't just use condoms. Birth control is not just for sex, you ignorant. To having to pay $175 just for an office visit, if we're being fair here, because a whole OBGYN visit is more $300 to $600 out of pocket. But But just say we do an office visit to my primary care physician, $175 to get a prescription, to trying to fill a prescription and being told your birth control is $70. And I'm just like, how, Sway? And as I have said, I have a whole story time on my initial experience when I moved from DC to Houston, Texas. And girl, I was blown. I keep coming back to the simplicity of birth control because it has so many purposes for so many women, especially when you consider how oftentimes the reproductive organs or issues that impact reproductive organs, especially the minority communities, often go understudied. And the easiest access to medication usually falls under the realm of some sort of birth control. It just has so many purposes for so many women. Why is it so hard for policymakers to understand that? Part of that really does come down to we have to start holding them accountable. But in the meantime, in between time, I have found an awesome solution that both speaks to access for everyday women seeking birth control while advocating for better policies that broadens rather than restricts the access to basic women's health care. Nurx is an online medical service that provides women all over the U.S. access to convenient, affordable, and judgment-free health care. Did we say judgment-free? Judgment-free says judgment-free. I cannot understate how important that is. Nurx provides prescriptions and delivery of birth control and Plan B without having to visit an in-person doctor. That saves us so much money. Like no $175 office visits, sis. I appreciate Nurx not only sponsoring this video and allowing me to touch on a topic that I've been wanting to find a way to bring to you guys in general, like how trying to undo abortion right undoes our access to reproductive care at large. But also, I just appreciate Nurx because they are offering a truly great service and solution. Some women live in contraceptive deserts, and it's not as far out. I think sometimes when we talk about like grocery store deserts or OBGYN or contraceptive deserts, we tend to think of someone in like rural backwoods, middle America, and it's really not that far out. You know, I lived in downtown Dallas, and the closest black woman OBGYN who took any sort of ACA insurance, I mean really the closest gynecologist who took any sort of ACA was at minimum a 30-minute drive from my house. And this particular gynecologist I found, she was just always booked like a month and a half out. There was no, yeah girl, you had to plan far ahead. And then once you got to the office, the wait to be seen, which is basically like if you worked, you would be taking, you couldn't do that on your lunch break. You'd be taking a half a day off from work to go to the OBGYN. And for some people, a half a day off work means a steep decrease in their paycheck, and they just can't afford to make that move. What if I just need birth control to regulate some sort of issue, whether it is to keep my period consistent? I hope it goes without saying that we as women should understand the ways in which a basic thing like our menstrual cycle impacts our livelihood and the way we can maneuver through day-to-day basic functions. Nurx is affordable with or without insurance. With insurance, it's usually free. Without insurance, birth control starts at $15 a month to have it delivered to you. Like that's a total cost from beginning to end. You sign up online with a quick walkthrough form. You get a doctor consultation, and depending on the state you live in, because your birth control options will vary, but your birth control options are then presented to you. And this is what I love about Nurx, that they are in the fight to preserve and open up the reproductive rights on the policy level to at minimum ensure that women have easy and affordable access to birth control. I want to encourage you to not rely on ideological presentations of laws, especially when they directly impact you and your community. I've kind of already touched on the ways something as basic as birth control. Like imagine if we all had better access to reproductive care and to OBGYNs that we trust. I think we're hearing all these different news stories about the mortality rate for women getting birth, the issues that we have with fibroids, like basic things that all kind of tie into our reproductive organs. And just imagine if we had better research, better access to healthcare, better information, that maybe we could all, not only as women, but also our intimate partners, the men in our life, would have an understanding of the ways, a big part of our body that they access, how that access impacts our bodies, and what's going on in general with the beautiful female body because it is a gorgeous creation. But I hope we all have at least a basic understanding of what birth control can do, as it regulates hormones, prevents pregnancies, reduces menstrual pain, menstrual flow, helps to stabilize the general menstrual cycle. I keep saying fibroids, mortality rate, but even PCOS, endometriosis, like all these various other things that many of us may never personally encounter, but we should not participate in stopping another woman from her access to caring for her body and personal needs. We all need to really dig into what it means when local governments claim they are closing down something they simply title as an abortion clinic. Because what you may believe goes against your religion, so you turn a blind eye, you just kind of don't even bother with it, has much deeper correlations to how lower economic and, well, now with the current healthcare costs, even middle class women who aren't salaried, how we all access reproductive care and birth control. So thanks to NeurX for fighting to make sure that part of that access is kept equitably accessible. All the details will be down below in the description box on NeurX, and a few links below to help you further understand what this fight for abortion rights means and how everyone has the right to choose how they view abortions from themselves, but we all need to have equitable access to reproductive and women's health care.